A shadow sweeps across the sun, and the clouds split open. A ring of obsidian and iron coalesces into a floating citadel above your Minecraft world, and at its heart stands a figure in black armor who commands the sky itself. The moment stretches like a held breath leaves pause mid-tilt, and water in a still pool hangs like glass, suspended by some new, terrible gravity. Villages whisper beneath the looming shadow. A cow lifts its head and stares. A pig freezes mid-snort, and in the high grasses, a lone wolf raises its muzzle and howls at nothing that it can name. The ring turns slowly, an orbit of design and menace, and the sound that rises from its underbelly is not of any mob nor of any machine known to the lands. It is the low, resonant hymn of a construction engine that shapes worlds. He is called many things by the few who glimpse him. A knight, a specter, a god fallen from a different sky. To the players who clutch their wooden swords and to the villagers who make offerings of bread, he is the dark architect. He commands not with gestures of whim but with laws, and the laws he speaks are wrought from obsidian and iron, from the cold calculus of engineering married to the cold art of command. His cape does not billow, but hangs like a curtain of shadow that refuses to be ruffled by wind. His helmet catches the light and eats it, returning no reflection but a promise of order. When he sets foot upon a block, that block answers a geometric prayer and rearranges itself into the first column of something vast and improbable. There are pockets of the overworld where the sky has not yet been breached. There, caravans continue, unaware or unwilling to believe. But near the first villages beneath the floating ring, people tell their children to stop their digging and to stop their smoking fires. Miners peer up from shafts like owls from holes and swear that even the stones tremble. The ring was not a cluster of floating islands stitched together by the end. It is an engineered archipelago, heavy and precise. From its rim hang chains of polished iron, and tiny lights crawl like beetles along its spine, placing blocks where the dark architect wills it. Creepers flatten in their nests as if a new gravity has forced them. Low skeletons hold their bows in a frozen, impotent salute. The first sky bridges unfurl like the ribs of a ship unspooling. Obsidian plates click against each other with the unhurried certainty of a celestial clock. A plaza forms, broad and black, with veins of redstone pulsing under its veins like a heart. Towers sprout, thin as needles, then fatten and ring with battlements that glint with an iron sheen. Lanterns whose flames burn a cold blue swing into being and hang like frozen stars. Each block laid answers a command whispered through the void, as though an unseen hand rearranges the laws by which this world builds its structures. The dark architect does not hammer or stack, he wills, and the world obeys. Players gather on ridges and on mountain tops, their skins ruddy from sun or coated in strange textures, their voices small against the immensity. Some arrive with diamond in their inventories, thinking to barter or challenge. They sail in boats or ride horses up winding paths, and they find that at the base of the floating citadel, a new biome of shadow has been born. Grasses do not flourish where the shadow passes instead. A black lichen coats the stone and glows faintly when night falls. Strange, angular trees grow here that were not planted by any gardener, their leaves sharp as spears, their trunks like stacked slabs of basalt. Even the animals are different. Sheep with wool like smoked silk. Chickens whose clucks echo as though inside a cavern. Adventurers who approach close enough to glimpse the dark architect report a presence like winter sun on a battlefield. He moves among the scaffolds as if he has walked these spires 1,000 times. No pickaxe touches his hands, no scaffolding supports his weight. When he turns, the hiss of hidden pistons and the whine of enchantments weave into a hush. His voice, when it reaches the ears of those brave or foolish enough to hear, is not loud but absolute, carrying across distances with the confidence of falling stone. He speaks to stone, to iron, to redstone, and to gears tucked in secret places. He names the blocks and they answer, snapping into columns and arches at his breath. Those who listened and survived describe how even the sky seemed to respond, rearranging clouds into banners and funneling winds into tidy courtyards. Not all who arrive come with plunder in mind. A band of villagers, led by an old librarian who has read too many books by torchlight, approaches with scrolls and candles. They come not to banish but to understand. They offer clay tablets and brittle maps, and the librarian calls the figure a machine of prophecy. She reads aloud passages from a book of worldcraft, and the dark architect listens as if to a metronome. His head inclines once, the helmet making a sound like iron upon stone. For a moment, the great engine atop the citadel pauses. One of the children among the villagers takes a step forward, bold and unafraid. The figure in black bends or appears to bend and extends a gloved hand. Where his hand passes, a sapling bends out of the floor and grows a single leaf. The child laughs, and in that laugh there is a fragile accord, but such courtesies are fragile as eggshell. From the shadows of the new towers, things that the overworld knows as hostile take measure of this newcomer. Endermen, stalking between dimensions, drift close to the floating city and sniff the air with their crooked necks. Their eyes reflect the citadel's lights like twin coals. They do not approach with malice so much as with curiosity that borders on hunger. The Enders find the obsidian familiar yet different. As if memory has been rewritten, they shake their heads, as if trying and failing to recall an old name. Pillagers gather in the woodlands below, eyes bright with the hope of a raid. The dark architect anticipates such things. He places towers not as fortifications but as statements, and from these turrets fall lightning rods and cannons that are neither the magic of wizards nor the machinery of simple redstone. They are something older, disciplined storms trapped within iron casings, released in disciplined arcs that sing like thunderbolts. Word of the Sky City spreads as no rumor before it had spread. Messages travel by mounted courier and by enchanted book, and even the Ender messages, those strange tassels of teleportation, carry news. Players of varied reputations come, builders with cloaks dusted in cobblestone, warriors who have slain the Ender dragon twice and keep trophies in their inventories, pyromancers with flint and remote obsidian torches. Each approaches with a philosophy: to barter, to fight, to learn, to steal, to see if legend yields to sword. They gather at a distance, forming a ring of torches upon the hills, lighting bonfires that send smoke curling toward the floating citadel, as if smoking signal caveats into the sky. The dark architect watches, tall as a shadow and precise as a clock, his silhouette a frozen testament to order. When at last a bold captain of the players decides to ascend, she fashions a ladder of scaffolds and redstone contraptions, striving to meet the citadel where it hangs like a dark moon. Her party braces itself, hearts quick as mob spawns, and they climb into the dividing clouds. As they breach the lower rim, gusts tug at their cloaks and rain begins. But the rain is not water, it is a fine powder of iron filings that clings to armor and sings when struck. Her boots touch the plaza, and a series of plates shift beneath her feet as if to welcome or to trap. A voice, soft, metallic, eternal, speaks thinly through the gloom. You trespass into an architecture of purpose. The captain answers with a laugh that is half arrogance, half courage. She offers a gift, a block of glowing diamond set upon a pedestal of oak, and steps back. For a heartbeat, the citadel refrains from sanction. Then a dozen small drones, no bigger than a bat, emerge from the eaves and examine the diamond with curious, whirring beaks. The dark architect's reasons for building, are not proclaimed on banners nor carved into stone slabs. They are whispered in the clank of gears and the deliberate geometry of his designs. Some ancient teachings, cracked and scattered like language in the stark Ender libraries, hint at a divergence. Worlds that were not meant to intersect have begun to braid, and an order is necessary to stabilize them. The Dark Architect believes that by constructing a skycity of iron and obsidian, he can stitch seams of reality together, fortify thresholds, and guide wandering energies into channels that will not rend the fabric of the overworld. It is a plan born of necessity and an unyielding belief in systems. He prefers blocks that do not shift in the night, stones that will not betray their bonds, and he hates randomness like an infection. Where chaos has joy, he sees ruin, yet his hands are not entirely without care. Within the citadel, in halls carved from polished basalt, there are gardens lit by glowstone and tended by mechanical caretakers that hum like bees. There, rare orchids, imported from biomes unknown and preserved in glass, unfurl their petals under careful observation. There are libraries whose tomes are not parchment but pure memory kept in gilded redstone arrays. He catalogs mobs, studies their patterns, and keeps a ledger of weather in which storms are noted like patience. In secret chambers, maps display not only coordinates but probabilities, lines of likely futures drawn like ley lines across the world. He is not merely a conqueror, he is a curator of fate, and his museum is a network of bridges and cast-iron statues meant to keep the world from unmaking itself. Not everyone trusts a curator who wears a helmet like a sealed tomb. Among the adventurers, factions form. There are those who worship structure and offer to bind themselves as engineers beneath the citadel, willing to take orders in exchange for knowledge and safety. There are others who fear any force that decides the fate of biomes, who remember the stories of tyrants who began as saviors. These dissenters speak in the underbrush, slipping into caves to plot sabotage or to bargain with the Endermen for inscrutable alliances. The villagers whisper too, holding vigils, offering bread to whatever gods still listen, and writing hymns that will be sung when the sky is whole or when it breaks. On a night when the moon is full block and blue, a skiff of players attempts to scale a smaller outlying turret and is met by the citadel's guardians, constructs of iron and chain, animated not by animation but by protocol. They move with that same relentless precision, not cruel but unbending. The skirmish is brief, brutal in its efficiency, and when it ends the ground is scoured clean and the players are left to nurse wounds and bitter curiosity. They report back to their comrades with tales that will be told for generations. Of corridors whose halls rearrange when you blink, of bridges that test your balance with illusions, and of a throne room where the Dark Architect stands before a holomap of the world, tracing routes with a gloved finger like a chessmaster ray. Cloud of unease settles over the lands below. Trade routes grow fearful and caravans take longer paths, wary of being caught beneath a falling shard of sky. The ring moves slowly, like a predator that has grown patient. Markets lower their banners, and at dusk all windows are shuttered. Traders speak in hushed terms of a new tax, not in emeralds but in obedience and in the surrender of certain wild freedoms. It is said that the Dark Architect's first decree asked for a small thing, a respectful rerouting of a river to feed one of his floating reservoirs. To some, the request was a kindness, an engineer's plea to balance water to power the city. To others, it was the first stitch of a net that will one day pull in the entire biome. At the edge of forest and stone, beneath the slow-turning ring, a child with a slingshot watches the citadel and thinks it beautiful. He carves small models from charcoal and sets them upon his windowsill, imagining a world with bridges that bow like bows and towers that pour starlight. The player elders laugh at his innocence, and say, watchful and careful, that beauty and tyranny are twins who often walk hand in hand. The world watches too, in its own way, with rivers that murmur and with trees that lean as if listening. Whether the dark architect is a savior, a scientist, a tyrant, or something else entirely remains the question that hums through every torchlit tavern and every redstone lab. For now, the citadel hangs, immovable in intention, and the figure in black supplies an order that reshapes the very grammar of construction. The story of this floating city has only begun, and as players ready their tools and their hearts, the sky waits with a patience older than any biome and a hunger as precise as a compass.